big white face guy. You're still trying to get Asian East. Not bad.
Yeah, so he's the same guy. And I think he's like, you guys always get, we remember the biggest amount of a lot higher. So it's not, I think we different. So they may have gotten some.
I mean, it's called a snow report this morning. I don't know.
I mean,
Usually on the way to school like this.
I don't doubt it anymore after I have a better degree. But I want to cross country ski since I have the space to do it. I just need the snow involved. But yeah, I thought about getting back into snowboarding, but it was too traumatic.
There's so much work on stuff to do there. We get some snow.
Yeah.
All in the sun.
This intermediate. And the wind. It looks nice and the sun out and you're like, no.
So let me try this note.
Yeah.
Sort of first conscious. I'm sorry. I have to use that research. Yeah. There's one that's from Aaron, I'm everything going on tonight between middle school, high school, band. I knew I was in trouble when he gets to rock. He's in that too.
That's jazz bands are always there. Fun
We're
ones.
waiting until.
Got through.
Okay, 6 o'clock, call the meeting to order, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get to our presentation tonight, just a couple of comments. First, Alexandria Bridge status. Project's experienced a few minor setbacks due to the cold weather, but concrete work was supposed to be finished this week, and contractor will be performing final cleanup the week of December 16th. Expect bridge vehicular traffic to be open within the next couple of weeks. Similarly, for Montcalm Street Bridge design will begin next year, in 2025. Most likely, the contract will be awarded at the end of 2025 for construction to begin in the spring or early 2026. Lachute Riverwalk Trail Extension, that project is substantially complete. The project will remain open through the winter and the spring until the grass is established. The contractor is currently tracking a short punch list of items. Construction on 108 Montcalm is proceeding. Last Friday, the structure was cleared and deemed safe from asbestos. The sidewalk is open. Montcalm Street bin has been removed, and work will begin on demolishing the roof in the next week or two. And finally, the radar signs that we approved last month, those arrived today. And so New York State DOT has granted us the permission for installation, so DOT and our highway department will coordinate on installation. And that's all I have for remarks. So tonight we have Dylan Teese here from Wright Pierce. Wright Pierce was contracted by the county to do an Essex County Water and Sewer District Asset Management Program. This final briefing, which is given to all the towns that were covered with this work, is part of that project. Our wastewater treatment plant supervisor was part of the development, providing input and access to our facilities. Derek Fleury and I had a training on this program. It's pretty awesome. It's Excel based, so we don't have to worry about proprietary software issues or anything to update it. It's an Excel based inventory, and so Dylan is here tonight to brief the board on the project and where we are before he hands us over the program, right? So Dylan, the floor is yours.
All right. So, as Mark said, I'm Dylan Tess with Wright Pierce. Essex County Community Resources was able to find grant funds to allow a lot of communities to actually get one of these plans developed. We're doing 17 of these across the county. So, for your system, we tackled the water assets, and I'll go over a little bit here with the presentation. Many of you probably haven't heard right here before, we're relatively new consultant in the area. I'll tell you a little bit about us. Then I'll go through essentially what assets are, what is asset management, some of the components that we talk about as far as the development of the plans, and the ultimate outcome of this is a rough capital improvement plan, and then I'll talk a little bit about understanding these outputs and what the next steps might be. So who is Wright Pierce? We're established in 1947 in New England. We're primarily an England-based firm. We started doing work over in New York in 2011. In 2019, we opened an office down in Clifton Park. So we have about 350 employees. What we primarily do, about 85+% of our work is municipal water and wastewater. That's what we do. We don't build schools. We don't do a lot of things. Just water and wastewater is our kind of forte. So in terms of assets, what are assets? An asset is something that has a monetary value and a functional value. In terms of how we define those things, we don't count every nut and bolt when we go through and kind of catalog what assets are. We focus on, in this sense, what is the equipment that's critical to treatment, and then we also look at essentially items that would cost over $1,000. The reason we do that is more so to capture items that may have a significant cost for replacement, things that are most often tracked for repair along those lines. So the scope for this project was limited to vertical assets in the water system. And when I say vertical assets, I mean the water treatment plant, booster pump stations, any well pump stations, and storage tanks. What's not included in this would be horizontal components such as water mains, hydrants, and valves. You can do asset management for those components, and we often have. It's just not what was included in the scope for this one. So now that we've talked about what an asset is, what is asset management? There's a lot of different definitions. New York State has a guidance document out there that has a definition of asset management as a process designed to help people decide how, where, and when to spend money to achieve a result. We use a different, longer definition for this project specifically, but it's essentially determining condition, remaining useful life, and determining the approximate time frame for already an estimated cost for repair, replacement, or upgrade of the assets in your water system. Ultimately, the takeaway here is that asset management is a planning tool. There's a lot of different ways you can use it. There's a lot of different ways you can develop these programs, as you'll see. But ultimately, it's a planning tool. So this is the process that's used to essentially develop an asset management program. It's a continuous process. It should be revisited annually. Essentially, when we get done with this project, we're going to turn over some tools for you to continue to develop your asset management program. But where this started was existing infrastructure. So what we do is we come out and we actually catalog the existing infrastructure, take pictures, give initial rankings, observe, corrosion, does the motor run, is there noise, is there operator complaints? That's where we start things. So a brief summary of what your existing asset count is by location is here. When we look at these assets, we looked at process, mechanical, instrumentation, structural. So we look at pumps, we look at HVAC equipment, we look at the various instruments in the facilities, we look at the buildings themselves, and we also look at the electrical components. But overall, you can see this is fairly typical for most systems. The majority of your assets are going to be in your prominent treatment locations. So the Lake Church Filtration Facility and then the Street Road Facility seem to have the highest count of assets. But you do have various assets in different locations across the system. So the next step here is level of service. We did a level of service workshop with the town where we met to discuss what level of service is and what the goals may be. So level of service essentially defines how utility owners, managers, and operators want the system to perform. A community provides a service, drinking water, wastewater treatment, and then there's stakeholders, whether those be the customers that benefit from it, regulatory agencies have a stake in this, and then the town itself, utility owners, managers, the workers there are all considered stakeholders. And based on that, you engage those stakeholders, and then you come up with goals. and then you track the goals. So for instance, if you have a high rate of customer complaints in your system, one of your goals may be to reduce the customer complaints. So you would make a goal, and then you would come up with essentially steps that you would take to do that, and then you would track that goal. So what we use this level of service for is actually I'll go through this. This is actually the rankings. New York State breaks it down into 4 primary categories: health and safety, system reliability, regulatory compliance, and fiscal impact. So every community we worked with had health and safety as the highest priority, which makes sense. Everybody wants a safe working environment, making sure that nobody gets hurt on the job. System reliability tends to be second, maintaining customer service, minimizing disruptions. Regulatory compliance is a third, and then fiscal impact is typically last. They're all important. You just have to rank them at some point by what's your highest priority. So what we use these for is in conjunction with your existing infrastructure and our initial rankings, we go through a risk analysis. So we take into account what your highest priorities are and what your infrastructure condition is essentially, and then we come up with a ranking for risk. So there's risk prioritization and risk analysis. During risk analysis, we actually had specific engineers. If there was an electrical component, we had an electrical engineer look at it. Mechanical and HVAC engineer looked at it. We had discipline-specific engineers go in, give more input, come up with realistic costs based on experience and industry standard, potential repairs, and typical lifespans. And then we prioritize your risk. So the way we use this data is the digital asset management system. Mark kind of talked about it a little bit, but it's a Wright-Pierce spreadsheet. We developed this. We've been doing asset management for, I think, 14 plus years now. It's been very prominent in New England, so we've been able to develop these tools that we typically use on our own. The county wanted something that the towns could continue to use to easily maintain their asset management system. So we said that a low-cost option that provides some functionality is our own spreadsheet. So we're going to turn this over with all your data populated. But it's a Microsoft Excel-based program. There's no annual fee. There's been two training sessions held. And you'll see that some of the outputs that are in this presentation actually come directly from this. So we used your data and the level of service and input that to do some risk analysis. So this is just an example, but for risk analysis, we look at likelihood of failure and consequence of failure. Likelihood of failure being kind of what it sounds like. How likely is that asset to fail? When's it going to break? Consequence of failure is more along the lines of how high the consequence is that asset if it does fail. I use the reference of a horizontal asset where if you have a water main on a dead-end street and that main breaks, you might have a couple of homes out of service. If you have a water main that breaks on Main Street, it's got a higher consequence of failure. You'll have several businesses, more homes, usually larger mains. So where you want to be is this target zone where you've got a low likelihood of failure and a low consequence of failure. That's where you want the majority of your assets. Where you don't want to be is on the other end, where you've got a high consequence of failure and a high likelihood of failure. That means your assets are at that point where the most critical assets in your system are also some of the most likely to fail. So this is where your water infrastructure essentially lands. And in the boxes, you can see asset numbers. That's the count of assets in the different categories here. So you can see that the majority of your assets are in that lower left-hand, low probability of failure, low consequence of failure. And on the right, we have essentially what we call maintenance strategies. Those assets in the lower left are what we call run to fail. Normally, they're lower cost assets with not a lot of interchangeable parts, and it's probably something that you're going to run until it blows up, and then you have another one on the shelf. You probably also have one that's redundant if you have a low consequence of failure, so that if that one stops working, another one just starts up. Those are where you want to be. The majority of your assets are there. You don't have anything up on the other end, but you do have some up in the higher probability of failure, even though they're lower consequence of failure. So you can see in the strategies for maintenance, there's different levels here. Routine or periodic maintenance and run to fail is normally where most assets sit. Opportunistic repair replacement are assets that if you get an opportunity to repair those or replace those, let's say you're doing maintenance and you know, it just so happens you can change one of those out, this is where it becomes recommended. Where you see components start to age is in the additional periodic maintenance and then the priority replacement and critical. So if you're in the additional periodic maintenance, you're at the point where you're probably spending a little more time on those assets than you want to, and at some point, you're probably going to spend more time and money on maintaining those assets than it might be worth to replace them. So you've got some assets in there, not a great deal. So this is an output from the program itself, and I'll zoom in here. These are what the program output is, ranked the top probability of failure assets over the next 5 years. So I know that the Gooseneck Pond facility probably doesn't have a lot longer for lifespan here, but there's quite a few assets in there. And then you can see that the Lake George facility has things along the lines of analyzers, control panels, chart recorders. Some of the bigger assets here would be the Freepo tank, and then moving into the pump house, sodium hypochlorite pumps, again, control panels, smaller pumps. There is the street road SCADA system, I think is one of the big ones, but I think if you look over at the probabilities here, you can see that, you know, the highest probability of failure assets that you have right now, as far as tens, is the cathodic protection, those hypochlorite pumps at the street road facility, and then the particle counter at the Lake George filtration facility. Also worth noting is that when you look at the consequence of failure for these assets, even though the probability might be a 10, the consequence is low. So these are most likely assets that, you know, if they fail, you may have another one waiting, or they may be something that's not overly critical to your system. So that's a snapshot of the probability of failure in the next 5 years here by rankings. So from there, we take the rankings, the risk prioritization, we move into a capital improvement plan. In the capital improvement plan, we essentially look at what the cost may be for assets, look at repairs, and try to come up with essentially breaking out a projection over the next 20 years for the assets by count they need to be changed out, and then we look at it for 10 years, what's the scope here, what the cost may be. So something to know before we even look at this is that a lot of this is based on the year that these components were installed. Most of this revolves around year installation and industry standard lifespan. It's not to say that assets won't run longer than their, you know, design lifespan. A lot of them do, but they do get into that category where there's higher risk the longer you run. If you're not going to get any newer, and you kind of just are starting to take a little bit more of a gamble if you continue on. But essentially, like, this is a planning tool. You want to use this to budget and kind of plan for those assets to go at some point, and this is kind of the best predictor for that. So some of the results here, we've summarized. There's a lot more detail in the asset management report. But for renewal, assets that would be changed out, here's a few, but Gooseneck Pond, the main facility building seems to be in pretty rough shape. Turbidity transmitter, turbidity analyzer. You can see 2025 for the main facility, but 2034, 2033 for the other components here. Lake George filtration, it looks like, again, the control panel and the filter room analyzer probably have met the end of their design lifespan. They're listed as 2025. The Lake George pump house, similarly, tank level control panel is probably at the end of its lifespan. You've got VFDs that will come up in 2030. Some larger electrical components there. And then street road facility, it looks like probably the biggest component you have coming up soon will be the SCADA system, which those have a short lifespan listed mostly because those components, they change models pretty frequently and stop making the components that are interchangeable parts. As far as repair goes, some of the repairs that we've kind of shown here is Lake George treatment facility. It looks like there was some structural issues potentially with the concrete floor or some repair. So we've listed something there for 2027. Pump house, ceiling repair. Street road treatment facility, it looks like there was some sheetrock damage potentially. Again, on the defiance tank, the cathodic protection. And then the Chilson tank, we listed structural inspection based on what we've seen, recommended that be done. So this is one of the outputs from the digital tool. This is your asset count by year. So you can see that in 2025, based on what we've seen, you've got a fairly high count relative to the rest of the years for assets that are probably at the end of their lifespan. Like I said, Gooseneck Pond is included in that. There's probably quite a few assets in there that are in that count. So that stretches all the way out. You can see that you don't have anything that looks like a major upgrade based on asset count until past 2035. But we go to this next slide. This is capital renewal, the cost. So you've got quite a few assets. If you replaced all the assets that are at the end of their design lifespan now in 2025, we've got a cost listed here at about $400,000. The trick with the cost here is that they're magnitude level costs. So think of this in terms of, there's a cost listed here. We've tried to put in equipment costs and some factors for installation, things like that. This I think is purely equipment in this slide, but use this in terms of, you can see that there's not a great deal of cost for those other years. So within the next 10 years, you don't have like by asset value or anything like that, and identify the major upgrade shown here. But in 2025, you do have quite a few assets that seem like they're at that point. So from here, we go into this capital improvement plan. And the capital improvement plan, we add factors in here for trying to bring up that magnitude cost just so that it's a little closer to the, I wouldn't say realistic, but you can change all these factors too. If you're in an area where you have, or if the labor rate suddenly changes, or if engineering skyrockets, you can change these factors. But we've included, 20% overhead profit, deposit insurance, project contingency, and you'll see some of these percentages that are pretty high, and that's mostly because we just have conceptual ideas of what these change-outs would be. So for instance, if you have a piece of electrical equipment that was installed 20 years ago, we've kind of looked at it, but we haven't dove into, okay, if I take that asset and I change that asset out, is there anything else I have to change that connects to that? Is there enough space around that asset to meet current code, even though it might have met code 20 years ago? So what I tell people with this is, if you've identified an upgrade, you're going to want to contact an engineer to do an actual preliminary report, or contact a manufacturer if it's a piece of equipment to get an actual quote. Try to understand those costs fully before you actually budget. So looking at 2025, you can see that Gooseneck Pond is listed as the highest value in 2025 as far as if you replace those assets at the end of the design lifespan. The Lake George filtration facility, actually Gooseneck Pond was second. Lake George filtration facility was the highest, I think, unless I have a smudge here. And then we've got the pump house and then non-compliance tank. And this slide also includes the repair items that were noted. But you can see that as you go through the years, there's quite a bit here, and then you kind of normal out into more of a regular number all the way until that 10-year mark when we actually drop off. So we've gone out to 2035 like this contract for the costs, but there are some costs listed past there, mostly because if we have them, we just put them in. And then there's a total over here at the end. So what are you supposed to do with these outputs? How do you understand them? As I said, they're a planning tool. It's not exact amounts. They're estimates of the possible magnitude of costs. Primarily based on renewal year. If you do nothing else to maintain this, just keep up with your renewal years. A lot of people, we do asset management work and provide a plan, provide something to them, and then 3-5 years later they come back and say, hey, I haven't done anything with this, can you update it again? If you keep up with it, it will treat you well, it'll help you. There is no requirement to take action. As I said, a lot of this is based on industry accepted design lifespans. There's no requirement for you to use this to take action, but probability of failure is not going to decrease for most of these assets. Age is going to continue on. You can't ignore that your assets will eventually wear out. But you do know your system best, rely on your operators to identify the key ones. Consequence of failure, however, might remain the same. Improving your redundancy may lower that. So if you have a piece of equipment that's a high consequence of failure when you look at this, it's not going to not be a high consequence of failure asset. It's a critical piece of your equipment. It could be brand new and it still will be high consequence. Adding a second one, if you're nervous about that, will essentially lower that consequence by redundancy. This is a process, as I said, outputs are only as good as the input. If you spend time on this, it will help you in the long run. And then conceptual design level estimates are encouraged for this. Go and get those engineering reports, preliminary things, look a little deeper when you identify an upgrade. So the next steps here, we recommend you maintain and revisit this annually, revise the information as your inspections are done, rehabilitation's done, repair projects are completed. One of the things that you can do is, if you have a work order system, or if you just keep a stack of papers noting when you've changed something out, you can go in once a year and update this before your budget season and kind of see where you stand. Biggest takeaway that I think this is the whole reason the community resources really wanted us to do this project was planning and budgeting. So it's a long cycle to get funding now. From concept basically through a project, it's a 7-year funded project cycle for a substantial upgrade. So begin planning that now if you haven't identified identify your funding program, start on those study phases or quotes, and get those conceptual design level estimates so you can understand fully what you're potentially going to need to budget. Think of implementing rate adjustments ahead of schedule. It's a lot easier to do that now than it will be when you're coming up on the time you really are going to execute that upgrade. And then, as Mark said, final reports, digital asset management tool, we're going to deliver those. I'm actually going to give you the digital asset management tool in January, and I'm going to send you 2 hard copies of the report, and I'll also give you the digital copies. The draft is out there right now, so we'll finalize at the end of this month. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions? It's a pretty sweet tool. We were trained to use it.
We did this 40 years ago now. 40 years ago.
40.
I ran a project.
If there's any questions,
All right.
thanks for briefing the board.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Skip right through this year.
Okay, let's see. We have one public hearing this evening. This is for the Tilson Fire Department. It's a 2025 contract. I'll open the public hearing now. This is an annual process that we go through every year to approve the contract. Open the floor to the public if there's any questions on the Tilson's contract. And not seeing any. I will close the public hearing. I have a resolution authorizing an agreement between the town of Ticonderoga and the Tilson Volunteer Fire Company Incorporated for fire protection services for the period of January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025.
Second.
Discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. We will go into committee reports, and we'll start with airport.
We didn't have a meeting this month. Made it really easy.
No favor.
We do have a resolution.
Yeah, let me go through a few comments here that I've got regarding the airport. So, we have finished the draft lease agreement for the new hangar. I shared that with the potential leaseholder yesterday. Told them to take a look at it. At some point, I guess the committee has to determine when the town wants to authorize that lease. I think we're waiting, we're still doing some, is the wetland thing part of the things that we have to figure out
Never
first?
heard anything for Casera on the
Yeah.
wetland. Yes.
So that's gotta get resolved first before the town's gonna be comfortable to tell him to break ground.
They're telling us we can do something with the fences. I haven't seen anything in writing from them yet.
Right, Okay, so we're kind of, well, and I told him that we were working on a few things that have to be decided first, go to the board for final approval. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.
Have a good trip. So there's that. The other thing is, it's the holiday. Passero sent us a gift donation. It's a $100 gift to a charity of our choice. I just have to put in the EIN number of the charity that we want. I was thinking, because of the specific charity is very local for us, if we want to do something like For Friends Come From Friends, or something else that you're thinking of, but FCF was the one I thought of. And if that's okay with everyone, then I'll execute.
CPCA.
Huh?
What's
Although that's a noble cause.
I think Johnny already did it.
No, she says, I got it.
I couldn't get it from him fast enough.
All right, then I'll take care of that. One thing that we might want to do, well, we'll go over the resolution. I'll read the resolution, Tom. We did put out an RFQ for a new airport consultant. We have to do that every so often. The old contract ran out. So I have a resolution authorizing the supervisor to select Passero Engineering Architecture as the town of Ticonderoga municipal airport consultant. They were the sole bidder.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. As Tom said, there is no meeting this month. No meeting. Building and grounds.
We got built all back straight around the cemetery. We got this, all that mold, and the tree was fixed, and the only other thing we redid the tarp, memory, the top loose.
Yes.
I had Dave Ross go up and change those ties to a cable.
Did it look like normal wear and tear?
Yeah. That's all I got.
It was the wind, we saw it on video.
Oh, you did?
But it did look just like it was, they were,
Yeah.
cause they were, you know, when one broke, it put
Well,
more
that's
stress on the next one.
So if you're
Yes,
on.
I'm on, okay. I have some updates. The first one is on Field 4. The work has continued on this new field. The field was leveled and seeded. It is not clear if the fence will be installed this year, probably not, because now it's too cold. Dave will try to dig the holes for the posts, and you probably weren't.
He could still do it. I called him this week, Dan called me, I called the fence guy, and he would still do it, but I can still do the holes.
It's up to
You
you.
know,
Yeah.
for a little while.
But it's getting a little harder
But
now.
he's still on that big job, so.
Okay, well, it is what it is. And this field can also be used for the town's soccer program, and the area surrounding the new T-ball field is very large. And I've asked our rec supervisor to take a look at this area and consider other potential uses of this land. And the walking trail that surrounds the new field is in very poor condition. And I am going to encumber any of leftover funds from this year for blacktop installation of this portion of the walking trail. And it's a U-shape around that field. The Kissing Bridge, and Bill Dahlbeck noticed that the dog sign on the north side of the bridge may need to be repositioned where it is more noticeable. And I'm going to take a look at that because people are still bringing their dogs into Bicentennial. The Upper Lachute Trail, and Mark, thank you for all your work, whatever work you've had to put into that. I guess you could tell us where are we now?
That trail's complete. They did seeding, of course, that was late in the season, so they'll have to come back in the spring to make sure that the grass is actually gonna germinate and grow. That was one of the things on their punch list, and after that, sent it.
And I've been hearing a lot of people being very, very happy with the improvement.
It's a nice little
Yeah.
trail.
And that project was led by Real Construction.
Yep.
And Bill Dahlbeck also noted when we were talking about it that we have some informational kiosk signs and pictures, and he thinks that some of them may need to be repositioned because they're not in the right spot, so we'll have to take a look at that too. The Mount Hope Cemetery, Dave has already said that he's worked on that, so thank you, Dave, for getting that done. Not you worked on it, but you worked on getting it done. It was also noted at the meeting that 2026 will be an important year for our country, and Bill Dahlbeck is hoping that we can find some money budgeted, about $2,000 to be earmarked for the celebration through the town. And as far as we know, the area Chamber of Commerce is coordinating this event. And I don't know what's happening yet, but it'll be interesting to see.
Actually, that begins next year, 25, 26, 27. It's a series of.
Is it good? Okay. Is something coming through the county on that too?
The Roost is working most of the issues, but they're coordinating with Chamber of Commerce and other historical agencies to develop, they call it American Revolution Quest or something like that. The different sites all the way up from here to the north, things that you can do and see that commemorate America's Revolution.
That's good, a broader view of the celebration. Another thing that's happening is there's a public art project underway, Pride, that's not their new name now, but they received a grant for, they're calling it public art, basically it's murals on buildings. And Katie Long, who's a member of our committee, informed us that this project has a survey out asking for input from residents regarding what they think should be the focus of this project. And the members of the committee, it's called the Public Art Committee, have met in December, and I just saw in my email today there's a whole list of meetings in the new year too to get the project started and consider the locations for these murals. And these murals will be done by professional artists, so I think it's going to be something really special for our downtown. And if you're sitting out there as a member of the community, you take a look at it and give some input into the program too. Plans for our committee in 2025. I've noted that 2 of our town park areas need improvements. For example, the planted area next to the town welcome sign at the intersection of Montcalm Street and Route 22 is in need of help, as is the entrance to Bicentennial Park. The committee decided that safe pedestrian access to Bicentennial Park is the most important project to consider in, I got the wrong date here, 2025. Plans to create a separate entrance into the park for pedestrians will be a priority for next year. And you all know that when you go into the park, you're walking down a road, you're not walking on a sidewalk. And I'm very fearful that sometimes something is going to happen, because sometimes people tend to speed as they're illegally driving down to the fishing pier. And that's the end of my report. We meet next Tuesday, December 17th. I feel like Scrooge since nobody else seems to be meeting, and we'll meet at 8:30.
So you're going to continue the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have somebody already coming to talk to us.
All right, cool. One
Yeah, we
resolution
do have a resolution here.
to advertise for a skating rink.
Skating rink attendant. Hopefully at the next meeting I'll have something to report more on the ice rink, because I think there's been some movement in finding enough money to get the project started.
You want to move that?
Okay, so I move that we advertise for a skating rink attendant.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you. Economic development on the 20th of November, the minutes are attached. Next meeting is December 18th. I'm not sure at this time if we're going to be meeting. We'll see how things progress. But I have one resolution. I got input from Thai Alliance. They want to appoint Dave Woods as a member to the Thai Alliance board. The town of Ticonderoga has to appoint new members to that board, so I have a resolution here to appoint Dave Woods as a member of the Ticonderoga Revitalization Alliance Board of Directors. We can't vote.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. That's all I have for economic development. And we'll go into highway.
Excuse me, we met on the 26th 26th. Joyce was there, she asked if we could replace the sidewalk path at the rec field. We need to fix it between field 2 and field 4. We know it's not gonna happen this year, but she wanted to bring it up for next year. And can the town put winter parking ban on Everbridge announcement? They did say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I didn't even read that.
And thank you for doing that.
John, the deputy superintendent came and he said that he'd been out checking roads for ice and been taking the new guys to show them the routes. We still have a few trucks that need to get ready. Overhead door has not been fixed. We are waiting for parts. Sidewalk plow still has parts on order to repair. And Mark wanted to make the highway aware that he ordered 2 traffic speed signs. They will be delivered to the highway garage. DOT is going to install them, possibly with the help of the highway. They will be going near the causeway on Eagle Lake area. DOT is working on the exact location to install them. And we received notice, we were asked about a crosswalk up by Stewart's for the people that come out of Macomb Manor. I approached Sal on it, and there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
We can do it, but you can't paint now. The only thing we possibly could do is put one of the cones out, you know, the walking cones, and then take it down.
So you can't put a legal crosswalk there, but we have to wait for the next season.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing he can do.
We certainly need something.
And the meeting this month has been canceled.
I only have one resolution for highway. That's a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute the annual New York State Department of Transportation Highway Work Permit application for utility work. Don't everyone jump at once.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion on that. That's an annual thing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Municipal facility.
We're progressing slowly. We have a demo plan done. We're getting ready to put that out, but I just saw this from the state that says nobody can bid unless they're registered contracted with the state.
Okay.
So that's something we're gonna have to.
Is
That
that
goes into effect.
is that in effect now?
Goes into 20th.
If we put an RFP out now, will that still?
20th is next week, never read it. So,
I have a,
that might slow it up a little bit.
I have a resolution here. We'll get to it, but we'll,
So,
I don't know any contractor that's actually registered with New York State.
this is
Where did that come from?
this
Chamber. They sent me
I'd like to see
State
that.
Department of Labor.
Megan. I sent it.
Forward it to me, would you?
Yeah.
Just would like to see it.
That's something new, so that might slow it up a little bit, but I think we got a good plan. John Cheswick's given us a lot of help, that's a good thing.
There is one thing I was gonna talk to you. You got a key, you got a key, I got a key. I've been going over every once in a while, every couple of days and checking it, but if any, you guys are passing by, I'd like to make sure that heat's still on.
Okay.
Because if we miss a day,
yeah.
you know, it hasn't been that bad where it would affect the inside if we catch it in time. But I mean, if it's really cold and
Yeah,
Okay.
I went over this afternoon and everything was still there.
we better check.
That's good
It's
news.
still working, so.
All right. And is that all you had, Tom?
That's it.
All right, we'll move on to public safety.
Excuse me, we met on the 26th also, that, let me see, Supervisor Wright stated that Chief Holbert sent an email recommending Scott Cook to be for the new K-9 handler. Also, Supervisor Wright will follow up with Chief Holbert to find out when the K-9 will be purchased and the training being scheduled. Flashing lights are along the dumpsters on the outside of Macomb Street for night visibility, and the dumpsters will be moved to the back of the building in about a week. Joyce asked about the vehicle that has been parked in the town parking lot at the back of 108 Macomb for the extended period. I think, Matt, you were here that day, or Adam. I was up there the other day moving rocks. They asked me to come up so they could get in there, and they come out and said, you wanna see that car? You see it?
It's
Is
still
there
there.
anything we can do legally?
Where is it?
It's actually
Right
registered.
at 108, right at the parking lot at 108. It was brought up as a public safety.
It's
What did, Laura, what did Adam say about that?
It's a registered vehicle and it's in a public parking lot, so it can't be towed
And the
by
guy
the
said,
police, by the police.
the guy said just take it, right?
He said, that's what I was,
They approached him and he.
I was not part of that conversation, so I don't
The
know.
owner said he doesn't want to just go ahead and take it.
China
Yeah.
His car out.
Unless he signed something, right?
Yeah.
But they've got it all blocked off, it's right in the way where they go down through.
It should be towed and built to him.
Yeah.
So we do have,
Every wheel on it is flat.
we do have a
It's what we
recourse.
put down. It's been sitting there for over a
Yeah,
year, but it is registered
Yeah.
in a public park.
Where do we take it? We don't have an impound lot.
Yeah, so those questions for you.
I just don't know under what legal authority that we can have it towed. We don't have a law that says you can't overnight park in a public parking lot.
I think Adam said that he couldn't do anything because it was.
It's registered. That's what he has said before. If
Answer
it's legally
good.
registered, then
Everything's
they
good.
have no,
Right to hook,
yeah.
No.
unless they.
We had to wait
deal
2
in
years
that
for the one
parking.
behind the library.
Didn't do it. So anyways, you want me to check with Adam tomorrow or somebody? Or?
You can ask him again, but then,
He's gonna
unless
say
he's
the same
insane,
thing.
the answer's gonna be the same.
Okay. And Tom already said this, he said, stated that he's putting together the demo points for the new police station. He's already stated that a list of specifications of what should be done and drawn up so he can go out to bid. The monthly police report has been read by Laura. From the report, there's been a few burglaries over the last 2 weeks involving numerous businesses. All businesses are encouraged to activate their security systems after business hours. Be sure that your alarm system is set up to automatically contact 911 in the event it is activated. And check that all surveillance cameras are working properly. The department is actively investigating the recent burglaries. If the burglary has if anyone has any information, they are encouraged to contact the police. Officer Scott Cook has been preliminary chosen to be Department K-9 officer. This appointment is pending board approval. The Code Department, Dave Burrows, to discuss zoning issues with the mobile home park in Tuffertown. There is also a junkyard behind the mobile home park, which he does not have proper zoning. And inspection is being set up for the mobile home park. Now, attempts to contact the owner have been unsuccessful. A letter has been sent requesting the owner to contact the codes department after 30 days if no contact has been made. A violation will be issued, which will give them another 30 days to respond. And that's it. If you want the police report, calls to service for 252, incident reports 35, arrests 32, uniform traffic tickets 28, DWI arrests 0, and accidents 4. And that meeting has been canceled for this month too.
And we have a resolution approving the Ticonderoga Police Department's recommendation of Officer Scott Cook as K-9 handler, effective January 1, 2025.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I'd like to walk on one resolution of congratulations to the Thai Police Department on their recent search warrant activity and arrests in coordination with 2 recent
Good.
drug narcotic busts in Ticonderoga. And I'll move that. Somebody wants to second? You can all second it if you like. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? They did some excellent work. Drugs are not welcome in Ticonderoga. Public Works, we met on November 26th, minutes are attached. Next meeting is December 30th. We need to discuss whether that meeting is going to be necessary or not. I don't know what's been going on your end, but if we need to meet or if that, we can wait till January. It doesn't matter to me, but I know there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, we'll make any time decision.
Let's wait until we get a little closer and we'll call it. Okay, a number of resolutions here. First is a resolution to accept the resignation of Aaron Lawrence, effective 12/13/2024.
I'll move it.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? A resolution to select White Pierce as the engineering design consultant on a water and wastewater treatment plant project and request a cost proposal.
So moved.
Second.
All right, this was one of the 3 RFQs that we put out. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A resolution to select MJ Engineering as an engineering design consultant on a water meter project and to request a cost proposal.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. A resolution to select AES Northeast as the engineering design consultant on the Chilson Eagle Lake project and to request a cost proposal. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution to increase the account for 126 Lake George Avenue to 2 EDU water, 2 EDU sewer, as there is an apartment on the premises.
I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution to credit the account for 13 Abercrombie Street, $513 for water, $616 for sewer in the 2025 billing year due to an error in the assessment tax roll.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution to create an account for 8 Mossy Point Road with charges of 0.1 EDU sewer, 0.1 EDU O&M sewer, and 1 EDU debt sewer.
I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. A resolution to offer employment to Robert Gray for the position of water and wastewater maintenance person, full-time with benefits at a rate of $23.19 an hour.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Is he replacing Aaron?
I assume so. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. A resolution authorizing the purchase of pump sensor repair services for the sewer department from Hatch. Total price to be $1,638, including freight.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And the accompanying resolution authorizing the creation of a purchase order in the amount of $1,638 to Hatch for the purchase of the pump sensor repair services for the sewer department.
I'll move it.
Second. There you
Discussion? All in favor?
go.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. We will move on to youth.
Just to inform the board on what's been going on in our meetings, other than the routine thing of paying attention to our after-school program and the other things we offer for children. We've had a proposal from Silver Bay that we consider not combining, but moving our program to the St. Mary's building. And they have promoted the fact that it may help with staffing if there's a staffing problem. And also had sort of suggested that if we form this kind of cooperation with Silver Bay, that there's maybe opportunities to have our children go to Silver Bay for certain things. And we also talked about, I personally was glad it was brought up, training our lifeguards is a possibility, and also maybe even giving some swim lessons. And if that could happen, I think that's the best thing I think can happen for our children. The commission has a lot of questions, and we're not sure whether or not this is going to work for us or not. We're going to invite Silver Bay to come back again and talk to us, because now we have some more questions than we have answers.
Okay.
My understanding, though, if we do that, there's no cost to the town. My concern is perhaps down the road there may be, and I want to make sure that that's not, because we have a budget for that program, and we don't want to have to add to it.
Is there room there?
St. Mary's? No, they're talking about moving us down. Yeah, there is room. The upstairs is basically empty. I think they're only using the first floor now. I did ask them why they were offering this to us, because our program would still be a separate program from theirs with some intermingling. and it would help them with, also with the numbers. There's a numbers factor in terms of funding for Silver Bay too, so. So that's where we are. I just don't want you to be surprised by that. I know he knows what's going on, and Tanya does, but the rest of you do not.
Some of my concerns are what might happen in the future if
I'm
the
very-
program goes belly up and then the town doesn't have a program.
Yeah. Well, we would still have the program if we have James in charge, but it's just,
Well,
you know,
and
it's
and logistically and legally how it all
Yeah.
works, because we've got town employees and I just,
Tanya and I've had some conversations also, and with James afterwards, is maybe a trial period would be a way of seeing, I don't know. I'm looking at Matt's face trying to, he's not showing anything over here. But,
I was looking at the question of the abandoned car.
I have a solution for that.
What was your question?
My solution?
No,
That we-
your question.
Oh. My question,
it was revolving on how the town could incorporate its after-school and summer programs with Silver Bay.
Oh, yeah, that would take some discussion.
Yeah, I mean, they do it with other municipalities, but I just see a lot of challenges, both legally and logistically. It's not just a yes or no
Yeah.
answer.
yeah. At this point, it's not, they're not asking for any money, they're just asking us to move the program. And
It's certainly not that anything's gonna happen next week.
no, I wouldn't see it happening until next year, because logistically, there's gonna have to be a legal document of some sort. So that's where we are with that one.
Okay, done with youth then?
Yeah.
Seniors, any activity there? Are they done for the winter?
So the seniors had their last meeting in November. We had a very lovely presentation on quilting. It was actually interesting, the amount of work that goes into making one of those things. And the cost of those things. Nowadays, if you want one, you're gonna put down the down payment on a car, if you want a good quilt nowadays. So that put me right out of the market. So the seniors, so this month, their meetings are down until April. However, for this month, there is going to be a Christmas party on December 18th at 10 a.m. at the senior center. In lieu of, them having a meeting, they're gonna have a Christmas party instead. I'm gonna swing by and say hi on that one.
So that's on the 18th?
That's on the 18th
So do they
of
say-
December at 10 a.m. There will be no more senior suppers for the wintertime. They'll be starting back up when the seniors reconvene in the spring. And then, of course, there's not going to be any more membership meetings until April of next year. So there won't be a senior report until they reconvene again. And that's everything that went on at the seniors.
I like the large print. Is that an indication it's the senior report? I'm sorry, I'm one of them, by the way.
I don't have anything for health insurance. I have nothing for contract negotiations. Just be aware that the 3-year contracts for the CSEA and the police unions are coming up next year, so. Yeah.
We just did that.
I enjoyed it the first time, not really. I don't have any cable. Tanya, again, we have no cable. What's going on?
We didn't change anything.
Okay, to get you some resolutions here. I have a resolution authorizing the following amendments, corrections to 2025 adopted budget. Following highway tax levy corrected to $1,531,897. Consolidated water district fund balance to be used, corrected to $113,037. Youth program total expenses corrected $148,035. Revenues and expenses for SS10 were removed because that district was renamed, no longer exists. And due to corrections above, the total budget appropriations were corrected to $11,392,948. The total budget total estimated revenues were corrected to $4,643,613. Yeah, this is the man who correct those budget calculation errors. So I will move that.
Second.
A discussion.
It's your fault.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
It's got a different ring to it.
A resolution authorizing the creation of new accounts, A.8160.863. This is for the creation of a new budget line that we need.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next one's a long one. Resolution authorizing the following budget transfers. First is to fund under budgeted general accounts and increase costs from contingency. The balance after that transfer is $51,718,771. And you can see the line items there, which are going from contingency into those budget line items. Next is to fund under budgeted general accounts and increase costs. The general budget in the amounts shown, two of the line items shown there, those two line items shown there. Next is to fund under budgeted general accounts and increase costs in beautification and groundskeeper from the amount shown there into those three budget line items. Next is to transfer funds to cover under budgeted account increased costs in the amount shown there to justice overtime from training. Next is to transfer escrow revenue received to the appropriate expense line for central printing and mail postage, as shown there. To transfer escrow revenue received to the appropriate expense line for engineer Reagan development escrow, shown there. Page. To transfer ARPA funds received to the correct expenditure line and the amount of $3,500. That was from your recent thing, Dave. Transfer ARPA funds received to the corrected expense lines and the amount shown there for the building repair and maintenance for the Hudson Headwaters Police Department building. To fund under budgeted highway accounts and increased costs for contingency for highway balance after that transfer is $3,871.99. So from contingency into those line items shown there in those amounts. To fund under budgeted sewer accounts and increased costs from contingency, the balance there after the transfer is $5,477.18 into those line items for SSO5 and so on. And fund under budgeted sewer accounts and increased costs and the amount shown there for SSO5 and SSO2. And to fund under budgeted water accounts and increased costs from contingency, the balance then after that transfer is $7,856.48 into those budget lines. Thank you. I have a motion by Tom.
Second.
Any discussion on any of that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution authorizing the following budget adjustments. These are for funding under budgeted or unbudgeted accounts and increased costs by respective fund balances, both from the general fund, highway fund, sewer, and water as shown there in those amounts. And need a resolution, I need a motion on that.
I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A resolution authorizing the following interfund transfer to transfer funds from the general to the Eagle Lake project in the amount of $68.31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution authorizing the following interfund loans. First is to transfer funds from the general to the airport apron expansion project until funding is received. Not shown there. Next is to transfer funds from the general to the wastewater treatment plant ventilation phosphorus collection until funding is received, the amount of $90 shown there. Transfer funds from the general to the Chute River water project until funding is received, and the amount shown there. Transfer funds to cover the abstract until they can be paid back, and the amount shown there, and it goes in from sewer 5 to sewer 4. And then transfer funds to cover the abstract until they can be paid back from sewer 5 to sewer 7, the amount shown there.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I have a resolution to appoint Sherry Benito as part-time deputy town clerk.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution authorizing the issuance and advertising of a request for proposal for contracting services to complete minor demolition at the future Ticonderoga Police Department building located at 102 Racetrack Road.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, I've taken what you guys have given me in terms of the description, I've embellished it a bit for the contractor. Panya has prepared two of the forms that they're gonna need to fill out, so we'll go out, we'll bid for this, we'll see what we get. I think we've set on the 10th of January, right, for the reply date?
What forms do they have to fill out? In
Just
regards
the
to-
bid forms
Yeah,
Oh,
just
it's
basic
not in
Yeah.
regards to.
Just a standardized form for each bidder to provide.
and a non-conclusive.
I don't know if they just have to call to get licensed, do they have to take a test, go to school?
I have no idea.
No, yeah, that's up to them to figure it out.
Brand spanking new.
But, you know, if you know people that might be interested, contact them. We'll be advertising this in the Sun.
Yeah.
If we get something, great. If we don't, great. If we do get something, we're gonna have to decide where that funding is coming from, probably from that building, capital reserve fund, because I'm tapped out on our funds, which is another story. Okay, any other comments?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Have a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 non-elevated bleachers from Anthem Sports. Total price will be $2,596.26, including shipping.
I'll move it.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
I just wanted to add, these are for field 3,
Okay.
and they're not, because there are only 2 rows, we don't have to have handicapped accessibility.
All right, so the Nymer guy will be,
Yes, I hope.
he's coming soon to
Oh, okay.
talk to me, so.
Okay. Well, they're not in place yet.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And likewise, a resolution authorizing the creation of a purchase order in the amount of $2,596.26 to Anthem Sports for the purchase of 2 non-elevated bleachers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution authorizing the purchase of roof repair work at the new police department building from Witt's Roofing. Total price would be $3,500, including labor, materials, and cleanup funds to come from ARPA funds.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
I thought it was over 4,000.
Nope, the bill I got is $3,500.
Yeah. Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, carried. Resolution authorizing the creation of a purchase order in the amount of $3,500 to Witt's Roofing for the purchase of roof repair work for the new police department building, materials, labor, cleanup included.
I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolution authorizing the following training for Dave Burrows, New York State Department of State, floodplain regulation and local review boards, which will occur on December 16th, 6 to 8 p.m. No cost. Training is online.
So moved.
Second.
And he's going to work flex time, so we don't have any work time. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute the 2025 rental contract between the town of Ticonderoga and Adirondack Community Action Plan Program, ACAP.
I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution authorizing expenditure of remaining ARPA funding to supplement the purchase of a senior bus vehicle. We'll talk about this. In an amount not to exceed $25,000. I'll move that.
Okay.
Okay, discussion. One of the things we're going to discuss tonight is what to do about the senior bus. I've got a little bit of money left. I think I have about $20,000 of ARPA money left. But I'm going to save that for the discussion down here. But we'll get to that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A resolution to schedule the organizational meeting for January 3rd, 2025, 8 a.m. in Community Building Boardroom.
I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution to accept the minutes of November 14th, 2024, regular town board meeting, and November 21, 2024, finance meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution to pay the abstract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution to accept the supervisor's report as submitted.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, senior bus. So, you all know we have some serious mechanical issues with that bus, which is why we removed it from service. First thought, maybe we just run it until it fails. My concerns with that are, first of all, public safety. And second, when it does die, we'll probably be seniors and impaired people in the middle of winter on a cold day, and it'll probably be raining just to boot, so. the county, county can't come
I got
today.
some better news, if you wanna hear it.
It can't be much worse.
Doreen, Mark and I have been talking, she's the head of the
Transportation.
She said, if you want, I'll send them one of my head mechanics down to evaluate it, second opinion. I brought it up to my shop this morning, and they came down this afternoon, and I had Sal come over with them.
Okay.
The guy got into it, and he said that it's a 7.6, was easy. It's an easy engine to work on. He put his computer on it, and he said that it's the upper part of the engine, and he didn't think of anything. And I said, give me a cost, and he said that shared services, that the county does shared services with other municipalities. We pay the labor, or the parts, and he is willing to do it. He said he would take, he said he thinks it might be and Sal, they agreed it might be just a rocker arm or something, but they gotta get the valve covers off.
Yeah.
He said it might be a valve spring, but he said he would definitely say keep that bus. There's 74,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
And the ones that they have up there, they've got 28 buses, they've got 200 and some odd thousand miles.
Did he give you any kind of a hint on what the total might be?
Well, she's gonna call
Okay.
tomorrow.
Right.
And,
We have to take the bus up there.
and also, he said that they have 4 or 5 buses that they keep for spares, that they could probably lease this one. Well, that one's down.
They have some buses that they got from DEC. She said they may be able to lease that. We didn't discuss a price.
Right.
Yeah.
But he said she would get with Jim Dugan and somebody
Okay.
else, their legal staff, and find out. And she said she would let us know tomorrow.
Okay.
So that's a big
Yeah.
plus.
Well,
Yeah.
the seniors rely on this bus.
Yeah, they do a
Christmas
lot.
time to get places and all that, so it'd be great if we could get it up.
Another thing, this is really ironic, he got in it, and he says, you know, something you ought to check on is the warranty. He said they warranty it for 75, there's certain things that they warranty for 75,000. I don't know
They're
any of
almost
this,
there.
but
Yeah.
we got 74,740 miles on it. So he's calling, I said, how do I find, he said, I'll call for you this afternoon.
Okay.
The Ford Motor Company,
Jeez.
and tell them the mileage that's on it.
Where's he been all this time?
Yeah. Where'd you find it?
Well, I just happened to ask Jimmy Dugan this past Monday if they had anybody, and so I was called almost immediately. Said
Wow.
they could offer the mechanic to come down.
Fantastic.
I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
This is great news, but it also complicates my life, because part of the money that I was gonna use if we needed to buy a bus was ARPA. Now I'm gonna have to send that money somewhere else. I'm not giving the United States Treasury 1 cent of this.
How soon do you have to?
I have to obligate this money by the end of this month, so
Okay, we should be okay.
as long as they get us an answer back, that's great, because now I'm gonna move that money back again into HHN, and for the, whatever work we're doing there.
But if we can, even if we don't get the leased bus, we could send that. She called me this afternoon and said, would you bring it up? And I said, I'll bring it up right now if you want.
Knocking all the way.
But so I'm assuming she's thinking that they'll get at it.
Okay, because Vermont had told us this was a total engine rebuild of $11,000+. So that's a big variance.
That's a big
What's wrong with this
variance.
bus?
He said if it was in the lower part of the motor, it'd be 20 grand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't, my personal opinion, if it's of that type, 20,000, 11,000, that money's better well spent on a new bus and not to keep this one running, but.
I got 3 callbacks from some of the company. They have a Dodge Power something, it's a 9-seater.
Okay.
It's 89,000 something. The other one that we were looking at is 120.
Yeah.
I saw that.
And the one like our bus is 145.
If we had to buy a new one, we only have 43,000 in the senior bus capital reserve. I got, like I said, 20,000 in ARPA. Our contingency balance right now for the general fund is around 51,000. That'll get eaten down a little bit over the next 30 some odd days before we get to the end of the month. That still wouldn't get us to where we would need to be for 100,000+ bus. So hopefully this will pan out.
Well, he said, you know, you won't know until you get the
Right.
thing.
I understand, I would like to get it back on the road as soon as possible, but I don't wanna throw good money after bad to do it. But we'll wait and see what he says.
But, you know, he said he said this bus is in excellent shape.
Well, he should be in this office.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, the miles might be good on that engine, but this bus is not in excellent shape. It's a piece of crap.
Have you looked at the back bumper?
We've probably put $10,000 or $15,000 of unnecessary repairs onto this bus.
That's right.
But we'll give it a
Now
little
you have to charge
longer.
you for welding.
So is the bus out of service right now?
It is.
How long has it been out of service? I remember.
Since last
Last week?
Friday,
Last week.
or last week.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Since the day that Ray came in and said, the bus is making a loud noise.
I think it was last Thursday, it was a week today.
Boy.
Okay, so let's wait and see. Now, I had a resolution to put out an RFP if we needed to. I can do that resolution
Then resend it. I think we should,
Just in case?
to cover our bases and keep everything moving in parallel.
Yep. And we'll take the lesser of the evils.
All right, well, then I have a resolution to issue an RFP and advertise for the purchase of a new senior bus.
I'll look.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Hopefully we won't have to do that.
You said it.
Okay.
Okay, just not to belabor the point, but just say they call back tomorrow and tell me that, say bring it up. Do we need any legal, anything before I do that? I mean, with a lease? I mean, if they say we'll lease you a bus.
Procurement is the same regardless of.
But, I mean, do we need board approval, or can I just call her and let everybody know, or what? I mean, rather than wait another month.
We would, depending on how much it's gonna cost, we would either have to get, 3 proposals or do a bid process, which means we'd have to get a resolution to advertise for a bid, and then we would need to get well, the county knows this, they follow the same things we follow. And then we'd have to have a resolution to kind of purchase order to pay them.
He's not gonna be able to give us a price until he takes them.
Right.
He plugged the computer in town, he's kind of probably aware of, but I mean, it came up 3 different times, him and Sal.
Well, I mean,
And he said it all pointed towards nothing major.
that's fine, we'll just have a senior bus at county in pieces until we can do the proper procedure to pay them.
But he said you gotta tear it down, and then if it is minor, and then he's got to order the parts, which is gonna take a little while. So he said, I'm sure they'll lease you a bus.
Well, he
Well,
doesn't, Doreen controls that, not him. so.
Yeah, he said he pretty sure she would.
Either way, whether they rip it apart, somebody else rips it apart, or we've got a new bus, we're looking at a significant delay in getting it back on the road. So there's nothing we can do, there's no option we can exercise that eliminates that consequence. So let's see what he can.
If you don't call in the morning, I'll call him early.
We
I'll call him at 4 in the morning.
All right,
We gotta do something to get it off center, so we'll do that.
yeah.
What, huh?
We gotta do something to get it moving.
Oh,
Yeah.
That would involve about 5 people to push it around town, I think. Piece of crap.
Jay's gonna trade his truck in and get a little minivan.
Sweet. Heck, we'll just
You
get.
know, I started it up there, and it didn't sound that bad.
So it keeps
When
going.
I got it home, I parked it up, I had to go in the shop, and it up and running. When I pulled it in the shop, that thing was
Clatter.
clattering like.
Next thing for discussion is comprehensive planning committee. I have 7 named volunteers who are going to be part of this planning committee. It's going to be executed through community resources with New York State, similar to what was done back in 2006. I would like to have at least one board member on that committee if one of you is interested, and I will not be on it. But we have some good people on it. I would just like to have at least one board member to monitor for the sake of the town. If somebody wants to volunteer for that, you don't have to say anything right now, you can come to me after the fact.
What is it gonna be, like a monthly meeting?
Okay,
I
so,
don't want to do it, but I mean, I'm just asking
so
questions.
this is probably a 9-month process from start to finish, half of that, I'm sorry, 18-month process from start to finish, half of that, from 6 to 9 months, would probably involve the committee. The number of meetings would vary depending on the topics and what needs to be accomplished, but you can pretty much figure on a 1-hour meeting a month during that 6 to 9 months. Could be less than that. There will be a contracted consultant that brings the town through this process, so it's not just, here, go do it. So there'll be, it'll be very similar to the DRI process that you saw. There'll be a couple of public meetings and a workshop, and the committee will just take the guidance of the consultant to get from point A to point B to finish the plan. So,
Who's leading it?
nobody yet.
Nobody.
So think about that. I'll give you until Monday to get back to me if you want to do it.
I can keep looking at me.
Well, just
Huh?
because I think you have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, this is where everyone's heads turn to somebody else. Just remember, you're part of this process too.
I'd say the person that's closest to the community building should do it. That lives closest.
Who's that?
You?
That'd be Heath.
No, I'm not, no, I said no, I don't
That's
want
the
to.
crow flies.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, then there. I thought you said it was going to be me.
We could have signed it to Heath as being the junior member of the Round Town Board.
You're not getting a car this year, Tom.
All right, last thing for,
Car or a car?
Oh, car, you're off the Christmas card list this year, Tom.
last thing for discussion is the Tower Co lease agreement. I sent that all to all of you. Matt has looked at it, he provided his final comments. As far as the town's concerned, we're good with what's in that document. So there's a map in there that shows where this thing is.
I prefer 95.
It's 75.
I guess I did go far
I
enough.
brought this just for you, Joyce.
Yes, you knew I was gonna ask
I
where
knew
is
you
it?
wanted to see where the map was.
Well, it does make a difference.
So that's the old Chilson Road, there's the reservoir. It's the 75 by 75 square off the road.
Is it near any houses?
No,
No.
not
there.
Okay, well,
So,
now right on the road.
This is a five-year term lease, and then it's got 3 additional 5-year extensions. That starts with $18,000 annually, and every year that goes up 3%. And there's a $2,500 sign-on bonus for the town. It's a pretty good use of land that's, we don't need to use it for, so, if I do have a resolution, should you all decide to, something we want to do. So I will say we have a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a ground lease agreement between the town of Ticonderoga and Tower Co. VI LLC. And Tom moved it.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Good with that?
Is it gonna be a Frankenstein?
I doubt it.
Darn it.
Just
No, that's what you really want, but yeah.
Just out of curiosity, who's the participating carrier?
Going up,
I don't know. They
Okay.
didn't specify.
I guess it's Verizon.
What phone service do you have?
Verizon as well.
Oh, it's probably not Verizon.
But I was thinking it'd be even better if it was, one of the lesser known third parties.
Yeah, I don't know.
The option was to put, it's going to be more than one, you can see that.
Yeah. I guess it is.
Yeah, they're gonna co-locate.
That's how these small companies make it, so.
As a matter of fact, that was part of the negotiation in the final lease was, we can't co-locate another carrier to our water tower until they build theirs, it's on the same property.
Oh, really?
They just don't want us competing with them.
All right, any more discussion on that one? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
19,000 a year in 5 years, we can buy a bus.
If the other one's still on the road.
You might have to.
This is in consent.
Tanya, do you have anything?
No.
Okay, Matt, do you have anything?
Yeah,
All right.
I'll defer. That's what we.
All right, then I will go into public comment and invite anyone who would like to speak. Just be reminded that you limit your conversation to 3 minutes. Anybody wants to speak can speak. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a recommendation, the senior bus, I've been watching it over the years, and however it ends up being fixed or new or whatever, can there be a maintenance schedule done like every 6 weeks on this vehicle? Because it just seems to be that we just wait till it breaks down to get it checked. So if there was any kind of I don't know if that's done in normal situations, but because of its use and being a livery vehicle, is there any kind of a 6 months, tune-up that can be done that
I don't
would
think
prevent these things from happening?
Schedule, but they have a sheet in there that they have recommendations in a check sheet,
Yeah,
like check the oil, the tires, or anything is bad. But I don't think there's actually like the first of every month it goes in for
It would have to be something internal to the town that we develop that says we're gonna follow this
certain
maintenance
times.
Right.
schedule.
Yeah.
I remember back in the days where we used to take our vehicles in for those tune-ups at certain miles.
Yeah.
But because this is kind of used more, more ruggedly and more,
But I've been to, Wicker Ford can't get it in because it's, the buck, won't fit.
right,
Charlie can't get it in.
right, but now we know this guy at county.
Huh?
Now we know this guy at
Yeah, but-
county.
I mean, they can
Even
get
the
it in
county-
they can get it in my shop.
Even the county has to send their heavier equipment like this to Plattsburgh to get it
Okay.
fixed. So,
Okay, thank you.
anyone else?
But on that same subject, back a long time ago, it was brought up that the school system, that somebody checked with the school and they said that they could possibly do the maintenance.
Well, they can't lift, they don't have anything to lift them. I was told that nothing in town can lift that bus.
They list the school buses.
I don't know. I mean,
Because
How do they
they
maintain
checked
this?
into it long. I mean, I don't think he can do it in a motor job or nothing, but I mean, general
Maintenance.
brakes and
Grease job.
oil changes and stuff like that.
well, unfortunately, those aren't the things that have been going on.
Right.
That might help.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, my name's Ken Parlin, full-time resident of Hague, and I'm going to read something from Kristen Mack, who had to leave going to the concert, and then I have a comment from myself.
Just limit it to 3 minutes, please.
Sure. So, Town of Ticonderoga Board, your councilman, councilwoman, supervisor Ray. This is Kristen Mack. This is my third consecutive month requesting time to speak during your monthly town board meeting. My intention at the previous meetings have been as follows. In October, to request a reversal of the TRA board changes made by your board. In November, to request communication with our town citizens who have reasonable concerns for the programming previously done at Ticonderoga Revitalization Alliance. Neither request was fulfilled or acknowledged beyond informing me that you have been advised by council not to have any communication. Motivation towards self-preservation of your position is antithetical to the purpose behind your elected position to be a representative. I'm concerned that you may not comprehend the scale of changes that may continue to occur as a result of your actions making TRA board changes in September. Given the direct impact of your actions on the TRA and its ongoing projects, I must emphasize that your board now holds responsibility for the current and future operations of the organization. Is the TRA fulfilling the roles it did before? How many scholarships are being fulfilled and how many new ones are being researched? What is the current state of financial and operational support for the extraordinarily important Ticonderoga Community Early Learning Center? What are the plans for the TRA's current financial partners and past donors? Do they have any new projects planned? Are there any new grant applications being pursued? It's been made clear that these questions are not going to be answered directly to me, even though I care what is happening. However, what limited information I do has me concerned, and while some of us do not have full access to this information, it's now your duty to ensure that the answers to these questions are clear and transparent. If the TRA is operating in an ideal capacity, communication with concerned citizens is key to reassuring us. If it is not functioning at full capacity, then it's your responsibility to identify solutions and take necessary actions to address shortcomings. It cannot be said that no concerns are being expressed. This letter and all my previous contact represent concerns that are certainly reasonable. Once again, I urge you to remember that as elected officials, you not only have the power to act on behalf of your constituents, but also the responsibility to represent our concerns and safeguard the interests of this community. We rely on you to provide answers, guidance, and when necessary, corrective action. Sincerely, Kristen Mack. If I did not get the opportunity to say these words in person, it's because I'm going to the Thai MS High School Band and Chorus concert this evening to see their work in action. These are positive programs, and I hope that our Thai kids can count on more opportunities in the future, not less.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and then I have a couple minutes for myself.
Sure.
So, resident of Hague, I pay the school taxes. I've been a volunteer with Thai Alliance. I worked with Scott Herberg on Entrepreneurial Fund. We made loans to the Burley Luncheonette, to Billy Porter's, to the Silver Bay General Store. These loans are outstanding. I haven't been, nobody's contacted this committee in 3 months, so I know you're going on board. I hope the Entrepreneurship Fund continues. I'm on the investment committee of a very large pool of money for scholarships. There's $224,000 at Schwab. With Mike Huffman, who's one of the Singer family, I and a third person are investing these funds. We're doing well. Nobody's contacted us in 3 months about Schwab, what's going on. The concern expressed by Kristen Mack and the donor community, which I can talk about, is that, so Sandy engineered this, what happened. He got Nicole Green to administer 108. That's his project. I'm glad that's proceeding. Great, that's a good project. So don't mean to denigrate that or Nicole. It's all these other projects that I don't see Thai Alliance equipped to manage now. Why putting Kathleen Kaufman on leave and then firing her was insane. Why not have, she did no wrong. Did you see the 13-page letter Sandy wrote bashing Donna to justify 108 Longcom? And if you're going on the board, Diane Eziel's response, one of the donors' responses. What I would ask of Sandy, take a look at donor support in this 4th quarter and see how much money you've raised from private donors. I know at least 8, and these are significant donors who are not giving to Thai Alliance because of concern of the current management. So it's done. I don't see you reversing your decision, but I see TRA in serious, going to be challenged seriously because of the lack of support of donors, lack of confidence in what's going on there.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else have anything? The only thing I would say is if you have questions about TRA, talk directly to the chairman of their board.
Chairman Sandy.
Sandy, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, I don't have anything else. Anybody else have anything?
Might be good to call him tomorrow, his birthday's tomorrow.
His birthday.
Sandy's alienated an awful lot of people.
And I think, I'm sorry, sir, but you don't know all the facts behind this either, so.
No, I know.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Fair.
Your comment is taken and under, and we appreciate that. But
Yep, can
there's a lot
I
more
actually,
going on here.
do I still have a chance?
All right, anything else?
No, he's got
Do I
it.
still have a
Oh, I'm
chance?
sorry.
You're sort of hidden behind your.
Just to follow up, I guess someone what he had asked for the information, and he was upset, and you just told him, well, you don't have all the facts. Why is it that we don't have full transparency? Like, I don't even want to know, but I learned about this secondhand, started talking to people, a lot of the names that were involved, I'm like, well, I've had strange interactions regarding this as well. So why is it that there's not full transparency? And why are so many people upset and that anger not being addressed in really any constructive way, it seems? People just keep complaining and asking and nothing's happening. Why is that?
The reason for the dismissal was publicly provided.
But then why are people still asking? There still seems to be...
Ask them, don't ask me why they're upset. I can't tell you why they're upset.
Okay.
That's not fair for me to tell you what they're thinking, so.
But is there information that has not been disclosed? I guess is the root of my question.
That would be something you're gonna have to address to the Thai Alliance, not the town board.
Okay.
Although
You oversee it, right?
you're the, it's
We're
a
the-
single.
We are the sole member, but that
Right.
group is directed by a board of directors with a chairman of the board.
Which is appointed by you though, right?
Yeah, you fired, you do a lot.
As a sole member, this town took an action
Yeah.
under its authority in the bylaws to discontinue the appointments, yes.
Yeah,
And the reasoning for that was published, and I'm not gonna discuss it anymore.
well, it's in the minutes. I mean, I saw why you did it.
Okay then.
On a different subject. I think the problem with the parking lots would be partially solved by a creation of town.
I'll follow up on that. Yeah, you sent it, I'll follow up on that.
But now that, you still talk about one-way parking lot, how that was like, like cloud now, you know, now snow and built up around it. It's like having two cars there now.
And we've got a motorcycle over here that's been,
What is that from? That guy's
somebody's
been
just
there
leaving it
again?
there.
No, apparently he drives it every day, I'm told,
I haven't seen it.
because I looked at into it.
Wow.
Oh, I
It's
haven't
been
seen it
moved,
yet.
it's not in the same place every day.
Oh,
Because I take,
But it was for the longest time.
yes, it was.
I was told somebody drives that to work because they don't have a car. Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if we had set a time limit, I think we would solve a lot of problems, because we've had three different parking lots impacted by this. And having lived in San Jose, where people were always looking for a place to store something or sell it, I mean, that can happen to us too.
how long has that car been there in the parking lot?
3 years.
The one with, really?
Right up there?
Oh, no, they are.
No, I'm talking
The
about.
motorcycle just
one
happened,
way.
but the other thing's been there forever. And to me, it might solve the problem, or make it less important as it is, than it is right now.
You have a lot of parking laws on the books right now, several of them.
But it doesn't address this problem, or, you know,
You
we
could
want
add
to target.
you could add any one of them, but.
Okay, well, maybe
Matt,
maybe I should take a
stupid
look.
question. The guy told Tanya, or told Adam, or told somebody, just take it. But if he signed it,
You can't just take his.
no, I mean, if Adam went to him and said, are you signing this vehicle over to us? You're giving us.
Are we done?
Can I just bring up one more thing too? I attended the library meeting today, and they talked about the fact we didn't have any bids for the building there. Nobody was interested in it, and they were wondering if we could just advertise it. It's available for the taking. Somebody could take it.
That's what it was advertised.
No, it wasn't. They had a bid on it.
No, it was advertised as a surplus, they could remove it, they could dismantle it, they could do whatever they wanted to it, and give us a bid as what. It wasn't to just move it, it was to get rid of the building.
Yeah,
At this point, I think what she's asking, can we say,
come and get it.
it just doesn't cost you anything, just
Come and get it. What else are we gonna do? Spend money taking it down ourselves or whatever? That's the option.
It's gonna cost them something, because
They
you
must
gotta
have
have
that
insurance
insurance or something,
Yeah.
because they can.
They'd have to have
Or that's
insurance.
just- and then get rid of it.
Yeah.
The asbestos test was done.
They'd have to, before anybody could touch it, they have to have insurance.
We can take it down.
I could be there and talk.
You got in trouble once
How about
before.
you? We'll meet in the middle.
Got in trouble.
We should bring it up in Parks and Recs, Joyce, and then recommend it to town
I'll
board.
rubble in no time.
Through Parks and Rec, okay.
Yeah, it should come back through Parks and Rec.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure because it really isn't either one of those, but.
Well, buildings and grounds and Parks and
Okay,
Recs is one
okay,
thing,
okay, yes,
library
buildings,
also,
okay.
buildings and grounds.
You have to be there to pay.
All right, anything else? If not, we are adjourned at 19:36.